everybody. This meeting of the School Board of Trustees is being recorded in accordance with Section 2-2-301, 2-3-202, 2-3-203, 2-3-214 MCA. All members of the board, committee, staff, and public in attendance are advised that the public portions of this meeting will be recorded in both an audio and video format. Cameras and recording devices are placed throughout the meeting room to complete these recordings. Everyone in attendance is reminded to honor basic rules of decorum during the meeting and guidance associated with providing public comment as stated in policy 1420F. By remaining in the meeting, those present consent to being recorded and displayed in the footage that will be posted on the school district's website. There will be an opportunity for community comments on non-agenda items at the end. Move into admin reports.
Okay, so as you read through these, and if you haven't had a chance to, I would encourage you to, but a lot of testing going on this time of year. It looks like we're finishing most of that up, or it is finished up in most of our buildings. Mr. Barnhart talked a little bit about the grant opportunity, and I have that in my superintendent report as well, so I'll talk about it then. And then just a little bit of an update on the curriculum mapping project that we have going on in the district. Special ed, that was actually, as far as looking at the special ed program right now, we're in pretty good shape. It looks like we're short one aide at the middle school, but really for most years we're short a handful of aides throughout the district. So as far as special ed goes, we're in really good shape. We could stand to hire a teacher at the high school, but they're covering it right now, doing a pretty good job. West side, basically the same, talked a little bit about title getting going and testing finishing up. Not a ton going on as far as elementary side, and then central, same thing, more testing. And then they got their MTSS expectation review done. That's where they take the kids through a bunch of stations and explain what they're supposed to do and what the expectations are at each area. Middle school, and this is the one I would make sure that you take a peek and read through the second paragraph. It's probably something, since I don't have it on the agenda tonight, it's worth probably having a discussion and looking at those numbers and then potential need to try to address some of the behavioral issues that we're seeing with the influx of students. Not every student, unfortunately, that transferred is a model student. So as you add behaviors, it makes it a lot more difficult with classroom management and things of that nature. So take a look at that if you haven't already, and we'll probably have a discussion on that in the October meeting. High school, again, they talked about some testing, and then the building projects a little bit. If you haven't had a chance to drive by the south end of the building, Cortland came in and they put a ramp in where that art exit is. They did a really nice job. It looks good. But yeah, if you get a chance, take a look at that. Superintendent report, attendance this month as of last week, we're at 1,242, which is down 2 from August, but up 22 since last May. There are a ton of events going on. We have all those listed there. As far as district projects, Central, we did have B&B and Cortland come over and take a look at a couple projects. One, the cement around the building is starting to kind of pull away. There's a bumper there that it's just starting to fall down and it's coming away, so we're going to look to try to seal that. I'm waiting for the quotes from those, and then we also looked at the particle board at the very bottom. As the rain comes off, if the wind's blowing the wrong direction, it'll end up hitting that. Most of that's rotted out, so we're looking at potentially replacing all of those with a concrete board that's a little bit more durable. So hopefully we'll get some pricing on that here in the near future. High school AC unit. We'll talk about that in a second, and then they have the bell and intercom clocks. They'll be getting those figured out, similar to what they did at Westside. Westside's intercom system has worked very well, and we saved a lot of money on that. So thanks to Nathan and the IT crew for getting that installed over the summer. Admin building, boiler install. We got a boiler for here, 2 boilers for here. I believe they're actually in as of last week, but I'll talk to Brenda on that tomorrow. And then I know we talked a little bit about the federal grants for cameras. I want a notification list when a couple of these grants come up. All of them are past due at this point. Obviously, I'm guessing they work off of a fiscal year January 1st type system instead of what we have. So this late in the year, there's not a lot available. But as some of those come up, I think that there was one that I looked at that you could potentially get some grant funding for something like that. It was for a safety school safety grant. So I'll look into that a little bit more. Hopefully I'll get a notification on that end of this year, early next year. Okay, high school AC unit update. Corey emailed me back on September 4th to give me an update. He said that he'll have final structural coordination by the end of the week. That was last week. I haven't seen that yet. And then he will be able to coordinate the completion with SDI and Interstate. He's hoping to go to bid by the end of September. Atlas curriculum work. So our first official work session will be Friday, September 20th. So our principals will dedicate about 2 hours to every one of those half days that they come in to work on the curriculum mapping. That's obviously a really big undertaking that the district's going to be going through. Apogee, so that's our new website. Chris and I met with the IT team on August 27th to discuss some of the issues we were seeing with the webpage. Nathan and his team got most of the kinks worked out. We're still seeing, so basically what we're running into is with the links, when you clicked on it, it would take you to one place, and then trying to figure out how you got there was tough. And then so like the school board policies, they were in 2 different places, and it looked different. So we kind of just got some little things cleaned up. It's looking actually pretty decent right now. NEMAS. So I went to the Northeast superintendent meetings last Wednesday. Few things that they talked about. Probably the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at, they're starting to talk about the legislative session already. One of the big pieces that we're going to have to watch for, and we're definitely going to want to have lobbyists on this issue, is the voucher program they're trying to get passed. So basically, with the special education side, they got it passed last session. So if you have a student that came into the district this year and they decide to homeschool, you have to pay that A and B for that student to the state, and they put it into a state savings account, and then they can apply to get that money for the needs of their student. So that's basically taking public school money to fund more of a private school approach. They're looking to do the same with all general education students. So if they go to school here last year, they decide to go off-site, we would pay that A and B to the state, and then they could, again, apply for those funds. So that's one of those big pieces that we really don't want passed ever. But Rob Watson, he's the executive director of SAM, he talked about it quite a bit, and they're working to try to combat some of those issues. That is the superintendent report in a nutshell.
That the decrease in West Side from last year, is that like the pre-K stuff?
They had a really big secondary class last year, and kindergarten class wasn't very big. So yeah, so we have like
it's a combination of the small kindergarten group
Right.
last year and then the big second.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was apples to apples, not going to change, and all of a sudden it's not
Yeah.
30 different, it's 12 because of those, the way we count.
next year's kindergarten class should be really big. So we'll be looking
This
at-
year's is big too, isn't it?
Yeah, this year's is big, so
Yeah.
we should go back.
Okay. Okay.
We've already kind of talked about having to potentially transfer one teacher, because since second grade next year will be so small, we'll probably have to take a teacher from there and move them to one of those other grade levels. Okay, consent agenda.
Yep.
Page 13 is meeting minutes for the August, was that the 19th meeting?
Yeah.
If you want to take a look at those, and any changes that you can see to those, we can note and make. Starting on page 17, will be the financial reports. You have your transactions and balances on 17. Those run through. Page 25. And then you have the check register starting on 26. If you have any questions on those, we can get those answered for you. Not a ton this month. And then starting on 29, we have our ASB accounts. Those are all looking to be in decent shape. 32 is a continuation of those. On page 34, this is a memo. It's an MOU for Chanel Lada. So she is a speech and language pathologist, so we have a fairly large influx with our speech caseload, I guess you'd say. So having a brand new speech pathologist that hasn't been in a school before, we're working with her to give her a little bit of assistance just at the beginning of the year. So we would would have a contract with this person to come in and help her get some of those things done so she's not, just to help her with time management and things like that. So once she kind of gets her feet on the ground, this contract is only good through the first semester. And we're probably only hoping, when I talked to Michelle, months, and we were thinking at least for the first couple, 2 or 3 months, and then we'll probably be in pretty good shape. So just trying to help out a new staff member, just kind of get her feet on the ground.
Can I just add a bit there? She's worked for us before, Chanel has, and so she's very familiar with the district, very familiar with our teachers and how things work. So she's gonna be able to come in, hit the ground running, and get things done.
Yeah. Starting on page 36, that's an MOU with Montana Digital Academy. So there's some odd reporting that they have to give on students, and we were kind of questioning the students' rights with the information we have to give them. This is an MOU from them, basically stating that they will operate within their parameters, but also protect the rights of the students from giving information. Page 39. That would be, so we had a weird situation. Students registered in the district, they were living in the district. The house they were in was sold to somebody else, so they were renting. The landlord sold it to somebody else, so they had to move. So they had to move to Fairview. Basically, since they're enrolled already, we've accepted them when we're taking them. I don't want to make them completely shuffle over something that they couldn't control. So that would be 2 students there. And then page 40, that is all of our out-of-district students in our district going to another district. That should be the last of those. Page 41, that is a list of all of our substitute teachers for the district. That'll be on the new hire section, the consent agenda. Do we have any questions on any of that? If not, I will start reading through the consent agenda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Approval of minutes. All recorded board meeting minutes must be reviewed and approved at the following board meeting. As you review the meeting minutes, please make note of any additions or changes that need to be made. I recommend to approve the board meeting minutes for the board meeting on August 19th, 2024 with any noted or necessary agreed upon changes. Warrants and claims. In accordance with board policy 7326, all financial obligations and disbursements must be properly documented. The documentation must specifically describe the goods, services acquired, and the proper budget item for appropriation. Recommend to approve all claims, payments, and cancellations as presented. We did not have any checks to cancel. In accordance with, ASB accounts and transfers in accordance with board policy 7425, the board of trustees should conduct a monthly review of the ASB account balances reported by the deputy fund custodian. Recommend to approve the ASB balances, transfers, payments, and voided checks as presented above. Speech pathologist MOU, I just explained that one. I recommend to approve the terms of the MOU with Chanel Latta for the first semester of the 24-25 school year. Montana Digital Academy Privacy MOU, explained that one also above. Approve the MTDA MOU for the 24-25 school year as presented. Out of district approvals, explanation was given. Recommend to approve the attendance of the 2 students as listed above. 24-25 neighboring school attendance requests. I recommend to acknowledge the attendance requests for in-district students to attend the requested school districts as presented above. New hires, Kaylee Cardell, Central School Special Education Aide, Cassie Cortez, social media specialist. I forgot to mention that. We interviewed and hired a social media specialist. We're pretty excited about that. She'll end up kind of being all things Apogee to start with, and then we'll expand that role as we see fit. I recommend to approve the district substitute teacher list for the 24-25 school year and approve the employment of the recommended hires for the 24-25 school year pending reference background check. And that is the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Randy, you there?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Discussion and action agenda. So on page 44, that would be the threat assessment for our safety manuals. This basically outlines the process we go through when there's a potential threat. we've gotten to already practice and use this process, lucky us. So this does come in handy though when you're looking at the protocol for that. So we have all of the teams identified per school, and we also have our monthly threat assessment leadership team that will review any threat assessments on a monthly basis. I recommend to accept the second reading of the threat assessment process for the school safety manual.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, on page 49 and 50, last week, Governor Gianforte sent out a letter to all school districts requesting or asking them to adopt some type of cell phone-free school policy. Really, the way that ours is worded, it's cell phone-free already, plus the high school handbook. It just lays out when they can actually use them. I mean, when you say cell phone-free, they're basically saying in classrooms, not necessarily in between classes or at lunch, before or after. So I took a look at our policy. I just wanted to make a couple changes just to clean it up. Didn't really have to change a lot, but if you look on page 51, I struck part of the first sentence and added, basically the way that this was worded, pagers was in here. I don't know of anybody that has a pager anymore. So I figured I'd maybe take that out unless they make a big comeback or something, we can throw them back in there. And then same thing below. I took out pagers and signaling devices. I just kind of make things a little bit more modern. So I'm not sure what they meant by signaling devices. I'm guessing it was cell phones.
We search pagers. We search pagers.
Yeah. You got a beeper?
Nope. I said now every kid's gonna go out and get a pager.
Everything else from the 90s is coming back.
Yeah.
I don't have the pagers.
Okay, so recommend to approve the first reading of board policy 3630.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, adult meal price increases for breakfast and lunch. I did talk with Shelley. She's our new food service manager. So on page 54, these rates are the recommendations from OPI based on the information that they get from school food authorities. Currently, let me take a look. Currently, our breakfasts for staff are $2 and the lunch for adults is $4. So if you look at this, their recommendation is it would be to raise the breakfast from $2 to $2.84 and the lunch from $4 to $4.99. Regardless of how we do this, the feedback that I'm getting is we need to make sure that these are more round numbers. And not necessarily like rounding 284 to 3, but like 284 to 285 and $4.99 to $5. One thing though that I would note in this, $4 is a very cheap meal. It's a cheap lunch. $5 in all reality is too. However, teachers that are used to paying $4, $1 a day increase is fairly significant. Really, when you start to look at 150 days or whatever they might be in the school, if they ate every day, it's not a ton, but it adds up. Shelley recommended that we do make these changes. I'll leave it up to you as far as what you think we should do. I'm not sure if we need to go this drastic this year. I did give you, starting on page 56, that shows you in the district how many adult breakfasts were served last year. Quantity there is 688 over the course of the year. And then the lunch, they served 3,167. So that's a fair amount of lunches that we serve to adults. So
We're all in your
Calm down. You'll have your turn. Go ahead.
When you call on me,
All right. Go ahead.
my comment is this, and I agree with Mr.
to get the dollar increase. When staff gets a meal, it's the same portion as the students. They do not get a bigger portion at all. So please take that into consideration when you make the price increase, because that may be an issue.
And when you look at it, like Westside, they get a smaller scoop of potatoes than the high school does.
And they do.
Yeah.
So being like at the elementary when I was there, because they only have so much for, that's what they sent over. The high school, they typically have extra ready. So, plus their salad bar is way closer to a salad bar than,
Right.
I mean, you go to like Central School, their salad bar, like honestly in the peas, which no kids eat peas, which is why it is, but there might be like 7 peas in there.
That's not-
Or 3 beets.
Yeah, I mean, and again, not a super popular thing for the kids, but the staff probably would do that. So, again, like for me, I think before we make a dollar change, I would be more inclined to say 50-cent change. Or we eat the cost of it this year. One thing though, talking with Shelley is inflation it's definitely drove up the cost of getting food in. So I understand where she's coming from, but if you look alone at what we're saving just by switching to Cisco for our milk, it's $10,000. So we made that switch this last month. That's about, I think, what you'd run into if you're looking at that change. So again, I'll leave it up to you, but that's the information that I can give you as far as trying to make an informed decision on this one.
Thoughts? I say we eat the cost.
I think we should eat the cost, because if they're getting a small amount, I don't see how raising the price is gonna justify anything.
Yeah, and it varies a little bit building by building, because like I said, if you go to the high school, they get different, but it's not like we can say, well, you get more at the high school, so you're gonna pay $5.
Right, yeah, that-
It's
no
just gonna have to
way.
be a flat rate.
I don't think you're gonna freak that out.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, please don't.
I do think we need to let our teachers know that you guys are not going to raise it and that it was proposed.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're probably gonna have to look at, just like we'll
Exactly.
probably have to look at the student, meal
Yeah.
prices and everything else, but, being that we already started the year,
Can we put this on the agenda earlier for next year so that we can make that?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they just sent this out in August or what the deal was. I didn't get it until last week,
Yeah.
so that was kind of why it's so late. And again, it'd be pretty tough to make this change. If we're gonna do it, we would even, today would say for the 25-26 school year, I would think.
yeah.
And even if you could have, like, the West Side teachers get the same amount that the high school teachers do, when you're eating a kindergarten meal.
All of us.
Well, that's what I mean, of course, you guys would be included, but I'm just talking.
No, just West Side. Just
Yeah, just
West
West
Side
Side,
and high
they're
school,
getting
that's
4 Ps.
And you get the beats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we can probably discuss, but yeah, I think for this year, obviously, inflation's hitting the school, but it's hitting everybody else too.
Yeah.
And if we save 10 grand, you look at what we spent, or what they spent on it, you take 10 grand out of that, they only spent 12.6, or we paid for 12.6.
Right.
So you add 50 cents.
Right.
It's not gonna come to 10 grand.
No.
So in a way, we already recouped the lost money for adult meals for this year
Mhm.
by making the change, so. I think it's something we'll have to discuss for next year, obviously, just like we do every fee schedule.
Right.
But just something that we should
Did we
address.
proactively go to Cisco for the milk?
Shelley did.
So are there other avenues that we can go for the?
There is. The one thing about it though, and this is even talking at NEMAS like last week. So we use the school, the cooperative, whatever that one is. So they encourage all schools to try to use that as much as they can to keep it affordable. Because once the pool starts to shrink, then they have to raise their costs. So I think it's good in certain areas. Like we've done a few things even locally through Reynolds. I forget what it was with. It might have been hot dogs, honestly. Something like that. But she wanted to go through them because she could get it way cheaper through them. So there's certain things that we go even local with to save money. But and I don't want to speak for just Shelley, but I don't remember doing as much of that, you know, previously. So I think that it's good that she's shopping around a little bit.
Yeah. We'll thank her for us.
Yeah, I'll do that. She's doing a really good job. So my recommendation then would be to leave the cost of the meals for adult meals as is for the 24-25 school year.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I probably gave a little bit too much information on this, and I apologize for all the pages on the early targeted intervention programs, but Mr. Barnhart and I, and Sherry, we've met to discuss this. So we were talking about, like even with our K-1 students, we technically can't collect A and B on them this year. So unless you have a program like this in place. So we still have time to put this in place, and we pretty much have all the details worked out on it. The only thing we have left is assessing all of our K-1 students. And then next year during like the child find and the preschool screening, we'll add a component to that that'll help us with this as well. So, and then also, so there's 3 different programs that you can have. You have your classroom-based program, which would be, and we'll talk about the standards here in a second. You have to adopt the state standards for that. But you have a classroom-based model. You have a home, it's not home school, but it's a home resources model where you can send home a program for parents to start working with their child on early reading or early literacy. And then the last one is summer school program. So the summer school program, for all of these, you can collect A and B with. So even if we're sending these materials home, we collect partial A and B on those students. And it's a free program for now. The thing I'm a little bit worried about with this is it's funded through the state right now. At some point, I think that funding is going to go away. But for right now, it's free. We'll have to kind of cross that bridge when the time comes. And then starting on, Mr. Barnhart went and got the standards. That would be page 63. Those will be the standards that I'll be asking for you to adopt tonight that we'll start using with our K-1 students as well. And then we have a program, was it Early Bird, that we're looking to adopt that actually goes all the way down to 4-year-olds. So we'll be able to give that program out to 4-year-olds through 2nd grade, I believe, right now. And next year it's going to 3rd.
Third, yeah.
So it's a pretty solid program. So I guess recommendation is to approve the adoption of an early literacy reading program with classroom-based instruction, family resources program, and summer school program. And if we could get a motion and a vote on that first, then we'll go to the standard side.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so with that, I recommend to approve the Montana Early Childhood Literacy Standards for classroom-based program.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, strategic plan, SMART goals approval. So the huge accreditation process that we went through last year, and really we didn't have to do as much as we did, but we decided to go forward with it just so we're not trying to play catch up this year when it's required. We got our report back. It really just depended on who read your plan. So part of it was within our strategic plan, they didn't like how we wrote our goals. So we went back through and we wrote, they were SMART goals, but they didn't like how they were written. We wrote different sections of them and made them a little bit more specific. It was more time specific. I was pretty happy when we got that part of the report. But regardless, we got it fixed. So I would recommend to approve the changes to the district's strategic plan goals.
Do I have a motion? seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, Randy?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, page 78, that is the multi-cooperative agreement between the Sidney Elementary District 5 and Sidney High School District 1. So the district has the ability to transfer funds from the high school district to the elementary district by approving a multi-district cooperative agreement. The cost of summer school last year was $60,000, and we'd be able to pay this expense by moving funds from the high school flex fund, which is Fund 229, to the interlocal fund, which is Fund 182. We'd also be looking at purchasing reading resources for the early literacy program and summer school in 2025. With the curriculum mapping project, we're going to need additional resources to fill in gaps where our current resources are not getting. So we're requesting to move $1 million from the high school fund 229 to the interlocal fund 182 for the 24-25 school year. Keeping in mind, oil and gas was down a fair amount from what we received last year. We're hoping that comes back up. I think if you look at the 18-month trend, this is probably the lowest point of that. So, and then it should actually come up fairly well. And I know David, did you get a chance to talk to?
He's working on it.
Is he? Okay. So once we have that, I think David was going to work on getting some data from a gentleman about the production in Richland County, so we have a better idea. Because it's not necessarily the price of oil; it's more so the production. I mean, oil can be $300 a barrel, but if they're not pumping any oil, we don't get any money. So we want to take a look at the production because really the price has been pretty stable at about $75-ish a barrel for quite a while. So I would just say, right now, with as tight as the budget is on the elementary side, I think this would be a good thing. We don't have to use all of this if we move it over. It's not something like if you move it and don't use it, you lose it. So I think that this would probably be wise at this time. I believe Nikki said there was about $3 million in the high school flex. So you're still looking at about $2 million in that account. Am I wrong on that?
There's 5.
5 million? 5.
Close to 5.
So, I recommend to approve the multi-district cooperative agreement, and if approved, I'd recommend to approve moving $1 million from the high school fund to the interlocal fund.
I have a motion to approve the multi-district co-op agreement.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Items for the
We gotta
next.
do the next one. You wanna cut?
What's that?
We have to do the money part.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, sorry. My bad.
You have a motion to approve moving $1 million from the high school fund to the interlocal fund.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Randy?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, as of right now, I'm hoping that we have more information on the high school roof and going to bid. We obviously won't be able to go to, well, I mean, hopefully, if something happens with that, I'll probably send out an email and let you know the time frame on that. And then we'll have the strategic plan will be on the agenda again. That's all I got.
Anyone else have anything?
Do you have any idea what this early childhood development, what kind of A and B money we're looking at?
So for the K1, we're gonna get, we'll get half A and B because that's the amount of time that they go. So that's what we were getting. You can get up to $1,000 for the homeschool resources piece. And then I wanna say that the summer school is quarter A and B for all those students.
It's 0.25, yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's not like it's a huge amount, but it definitely, like, when you start looking at the cost of summer school, it'll help offset that.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.